The only way that you can diffuse a toxin is to introduce other things into it. In other words, you have to dilute the toxin. Right now, Black culture is toxic. And we call the degeneracy toxic. Like our rap music that we love, and we probably got to get away from that. I know it feels
ain't no problem to it. Right? Ain't no problem to it.
We don't have to train our daughters that that 304 culture is not the answer. We're gonna have to train our sons that real manhood is not how many people you can beat up, or how many people you can fight, or how many women you can sleep with. That's not real manhood. And so we have to begin to teach our children differently.
What should, in your estimation, the Black community do to have a better 2030? Because we're going to look out into the future. We got 4 years, 2030, than what we're trending toward. Because I hate to say it, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. We're not moving in a good direction as Black people. What do you think we should do?
You asked this question, but first of all, it's too early for this question. We got to warm up here.
Okay, you got to come back, Dennis, after dark. Then you got to come back later on tonight, man.
But man, first of all, it didn't take us 4 years to get here, and it's going to take a lot longer than 4 years to get us out of here.
That.
Okay, and
give me one way to get us.
Well, let's
get the blinker on. Let's get the blinker on at least.
So the process. Let's do process of elimination. It's not money, because we have money. Okay, in 1965, about a little over 50% of Black people were living below the poverty line.
Okay.
Now it's about 59% of Black people are upper middle class, or rich. And so, in other words, we have money. So money is not the answer. We have education. Education is not the answer. I mean, we had coming out of slavery, I think we had a 90-something% illiteracy rate.
Facts. Yeah.
Okay. But and we had crime back then, but it wasn't mechanized. So we had degeneracy, but you had a juke joint. It wasn't accepted by the people en masse. You see, what we have now is a situation where degeneracy has become synonymous with Black culture. In other words, when you say Black, you think
ghetto behavior.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So, and even the wealthy, upper middle class, successful Black people have allowed that to permeate our value system. So you can't buy your way out of this situation. In other words, you can't move away from the degeneracy. As I told somebody else, you move out there with the white folks to get away from the N-words, and you the one that brought the N-word with you. The N-word is in the mirror.
Right.
And so
the N-word is in you.
Yeah. So what do we do? How do we purge our culture of these degenerate values? Somebody hits you, you hit them back harder. That's not going to produce a productive society. Okay. Or get it how you live. Anything I need to do to get the money, get the bad culture. So that means you're going to prostitute yourself. You're going to commit crimes if things go bad. So we have to. Oh man. Okay. So let me give you a little bit. I know you like, brother, just get to the point, land the plane.
It's all good, brother.
I have a whole slew of degrees in law, but what people don't know is that at a point between 2010 and 2014, I was working on a PhD in environmental molecular toxicology, a PhD in environmental science, and a PhD in biological sciences. And I got almost ready to, all I had to do was write my thesis and finish a couple of classes in my PhD. And I did all that at the same time. But I say all that to say that I learned something in my studies of environmental toxicology. The only way that you can diffuse a toxin is to introduce other things into it. In other words, you have to dilute the toxin. Right now, Black culture is toxic. And we call the degeneracy toxic. So what has to happen is there has to be an influx of non-toxins to dilute it. I hate to say that, right?
That's good church right there.
Yeah. In other words, if you toxic and your wife is toxic,
hey man,
you're gonna have some. Your children are going to inherit that toxicity and they're going to pass it on. So what you have to do is separate yourself from that toxin. Get with somebody who is not toxic, okay, who didn't have a broken home, who doesn't have that value system that says somebody hits you, you hit them back harder. I'm going to get it how I live. You need to get with somebody who's family oriented, somebody who understands that put God in it. Okay. In other words, we're going to be led by this moral compass as opposed to what we want to do in this world, which makes us feel good. And so what that means is, unfortunately, brother, we kind of got to separate a little bit. You see? And look, and I know now what is he saying? What I'm saying is you need to get with somebody who is not as toxic as you. You have enough demons, okay? You don't need to get someone with their demons and you bring those demons and all those demons come there. Two unhealed people can't heal each other. And so if you in a situation where, and here's another thing, got me on the soapbox. If you're an unhealed person, you full of demons and hell and all that, and you don't want to change, leave the good people alone. Leave God's people to God's people. If you full of hell and sin, go work on yourself. You see, go first of all, realize that there's a problem within me. All right, so let's start that. Now, as far as the numbers, money's not the issue. We have money. We're the richest group of Africans on the planet. We got 1 in 20, 1 in every 20 black people in America is a millionaire, every household. So we have money, we have education, we have access to education. The way these people typing on the internet, they can read. We're not illiterate like we were. So it's not money and it's not education, it's something more. And I have a theory as to where it came from, but that takes a long kind of, I talk about how we went from being builders to beggars, but in one of my broadcasts. But the bottom line is, man, it's not a money thing, it's not an education thing, it's a degeneracy thing. It's something we've adopted, and we have to cull ourselves from that. We have to get with people in relationships. We have to separate ourselves. We have to stop some of these things that we do. Unfortunately, some of the things we've adapted, like our rap music that we love, and we probably got to get away from that. I know it feels
ain't no problem to it.
Right?
No problem to it.
Have to train our daughters that that 304 culture is not the answer. We're gonna have to train our sons that real manhood is not how many people you can beat up, or how many people you can fight, or how many women you can sleep with. That's not real manhood. And so we have to begin to teach our children differently. But we're not going to be able to do it in 4 years, brother. I just wanted to point us. I just wanted to point us in the right direction. And you're right. I probably should have did maybe like 2050. I got you. Now you said you Baptist though, so you know what? Because of that, I gotta bring something special for you. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna drop the. He out here bringing. He out here preaching, man. I gotta bring. Hallelujah. We gotta bring the ham. We gotta bring the Hammond B3 in for you now. No. So the other day I had a clinician on who was talking about cults and how hard it is to get people to get out of a cult. I mean, you're not going to logically get a person out of a cult. Okay. And she said something I thought was super interesting. You have to replace the story that the cult put into their minds. So let's just say that the cult put a particular idea into your mind and crafted this story. As a matter of fact, here, you know what? Let's talk about the Carmelo Anthony case. So we've seen this in 4K because there's pieces of information that were missing, and people created whole new narratives, from getting jumped to the boys are trying to delete their mom and dad to just fill in the blank. All this stuff. Where did it come from? Because there were gaps in the information, and they filled this in, and now these people are holding on to the story.
Yeah,
it don't matter what you say to them. You can tell them whatever, but the thing is, you have to replace the story with the reality. So to your point that you said about toxicity, let's say that the toxicity is these fabricated fan fiction narratives that have come up around the Carmelo Anthony trial. And those are the false narratives, the toxicity that you were mentioning. We have to replace that or dilute that with truth. And help people see, like walk them through seeing that this is true, not what you've made up. Because I've heard some people say some stuff. I'm like, where are you getting this from? Like, At least you had it, at least there was somewhere I can say, oh, I see where you got that from. Like you're making up a whole story, the whole thing about he was getting jumped, he was in a headlock, and he swung the knife up because he was in a headlock. Where did you get that? Nothing told you that. Now, I've said this before. I think the judge probably should have thought a little bit more clearly and had that thing streamed so that it would have done away with a lot of these questions. Even if you just let the audio play. I mean, I understand the camera for minors and stuff like that, but maybe he just streamed it and we could hear the audio of it. I think that would have done away with, because now we're just hearing people tell the story because the transcripts are not even available. So it's only helped intensify the toxicity or fan fiction made up narratives. But to your point, we have to come in and have to help them see and give them a replacement story of truth that will do away with and start diluting that toxicity, because otherwise it's just going to sit there and just keep being toxic. But
well, brother, you know, some people, you can tell them for the rest of their life and they'll never believe you. Once people just get dead set on believing what they want to believe, then that's just how they're going to go. And you just got to go on and leave that group of people alone. Some people are just hard-headed and they won't believe anything you say. And all I wanted to do is point out, well, this is what the jury heard. This is why the verdict is valid. So my job was relatively easy because all I had to say was there were 21 witnesses. They testified. I don't know specifically what they said, but the jury heard them. There was a dead body. There was a knife. There was a confession. There was, you know, a video that they saw. And the jury found him guilty. Like, I don't know anything else that they heard, but I know they heard that. They didn't hear anything about him getting jumped. They didn't hear about a magical knife popping up in the air and popping somebody in the chest. They didn't hear about that. So is the jury valid? Is the jury verdict valid? That's it. That's all I cared about it, because and that made my job easy. So I didn't have to deal with the fantasy of it. But the thing is, man, you have people who believe that you know that we are invaded by Martians and the earth is flat. And you can tell them all day, well, look out at this. It's not. We actually circled around it. You know, Magellan, have you heard of Magellan? I mean, like, it does not matter. And so with those type of people, it's one thing to be ignorant. They don't know. But it's another thing to just be stupid. If you're stupid, that means you confronted with the truth and you still choose to believe, disbelieve the facts and choose what you want. Well, you just go right on ahead. They have a Darwin Award for people like that. And they're going to win it. You see what I mean? And you can't save them all, brother. You can't save them all. And I'm not going to stress myself out and get one more gray hair on my head trying to change that opinion. You see what I'm saying? So some people got to write off. And I know it's like we Christians, but even in the Bible, you got to write some people off. You see what I'm saying? That's my thoughts on it.
No, I agree with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.